Hey guys, it's Josh again with our small group video for this week. And this week my guest is Justin Lance, our office manager. So thanks for joining me.
Absolutely.
All right, so Justin's got an icebreaker for us today.
Okay, so the icebreaker this week is, if you were to travel anywhere in the world for fun, where would that be?
Yep.
Personally, I think I would probably go to New Zealand, see if I can't come across some wallabies or hobbits or something like that.
All those hobbits in New Zealand.
Yeah, all the hobbits. The second part of that question is, if you were going to go on a missionary journey, where would you go? And so I'm looking at the missionaries that we support here at the Bentonville Church of Christ, and I think out of all that we support, I'd probably like to go to Argentina and visit them.
All right, super. So answer that amongst yourselves. Where would you go for fun, and which one of our mission countries would you go visit? Mm-hmm. And then we also were hoping you guys would pray for our missionaries tonight. So how could they find the missionaries to pray for them?
Okay, so on our website we have a missions page, and on the missions page we have a list of all of our missionaries and their families that we support. So if you go to bentonvillechurch.com, go to Connect and International Missions, you'll find all that information there.
Okay. We just really hope you guys will do that tonight. Whether you get to these other questions or not, take the time to pray for our missionaries. Yeah. So I do have two questions for you. One is from the sermon, and one is a going deeper question. The first one is from Acts chapter 22 that we heard about today, where we see the event of Saul's conversion. He's on the road to Damascus. He sees the vision of Jesus, and he's blinded physically, but he also recognizes the blindness of his own soul and his faith. And he asks this key question. He says, "What should I do, Lord?" And I wonder if you've ever had a moment like that, maybe at your own conversion, or maybe much later in your faith journey, where you suddenly realized everything you thought you knew was wrong, you're blind, you need help, and you cried out to God, "What should I do? Where do I go from here?" And then talk a little bit amongst yourselves about what that was like. How humbling was it? How did you realize it was happening? Were you afraid? Who did you go to for help? What kind of guidance did they give? How did God answer and come through? It'd be great to share those stories. Yeah. And then the last one is this. It's kind of a going deeper question, and you'll need to read 1 Timothy chapter 1, verses 12 to 17. That's when Paul, writing to Timothy, his friend and son in the faith, he talks about his conversion again. But instead of telling the event, he talks about the significance of what it meant. And he says things like he was the chief of sinners. And really the words that he uses are just wild. He says he was a persecutor and a blasphemer and a violent man. Picture Saul, this Middle Eastern guy, who was violent and who was arresting people that disagreed with him, was putting people to death that disagreed with him for his religion. Like, who does that sound like to you? Who in the headlines does that look like today? And then he says these remarkable things. He says it was for that reason that Jesus' love was poured out on me abundantly. He says it was so that Jesus would show his immense patience in me. This absolutely crushes the idea that Christianity is about being saved because you behave. It crushes the idea that Christians are inherently better people than everyone else. So for you, what does that mean? Where do we go from there? How does that change the way you look at the people that are most different from us? Okay? All right, so we hope that this is a good night for you guys at small group, and thanks for participating. See you guys next time. Bye.